sometimes it can be really tough to be a fan of your favorite NBA team. When it comes to tanking or not making trades that you think are correct or letting players go that you wanted to keep, there's a lot to be frustrated about. It's specifically tough to be an NBA fan when you're at the bottom of the bottom, the worst of the worst, the lottery boys. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a reason your team is picking in the lottery. And so today we'll go over the 3 teams poised to make a comeback from their lottery situation and be contenders in the near future. So here's the lottery turnaround bonanza. So what I'm going to do for each one of the 4 teams is going to be pretty simple. I'm going to talk about why I'm high on the team moving forward. I'm going to give one thing they need to watch out for, and I'm going to give one move I think they should make. So next on this list are the Phoenix Suns, and I actually like to watch the Phoenix Suns almost exclusively because of Devin Booker. So we'll start with Devin Booker. He is a true 3-level scorer, and dare I even say 4-level scorer with how deep he pulls the trigger from. And when you're trying to build a team, that's the exact player I would want to build around. Someone who can consistently get their shot off no matter what the defense throws at him. I also am a huge fan of Josh Jackson, and he got the Andrew Wiggins comp a lot coming out of Kansas for obvious reasons. But in college, I saw Josh as a better passer, a better rebounder, and a better defender than Andrew. And even though he hasn't bust on the scene like Andrew did winning Rookie of the Year, I see Josh Jackson as a better long-term prospect than Andrew Wiggins at this point. The Suns also have the worst record in the NBA right now, which puts them in the money zone, top 3 pick zone. And that's going to be Ayton, that's going to be Marvin Bagley, and that's going to be Michael Porter Jr. And that is where your money needs to be. There will probably be other great players in the draft at some point, but from a surefire standpoint, that's where you want to be at. If you could have an already budding star in Devin Booker, someone who looks like he's going to at least be a decent player in Josh Jackson, and then potentially a franchise-changing player in the top 3, you're in good shape. They also have the 15th and 16th pick in the draft. Usually not the best range to pick at, but it's better than nothing. But now what I'm worried about with them is Ryan McDonough, their GM. He's hit a home run with Devin Booker. He looks like he's hit at least a double with Josh Jackson, but then he struck out twice with Dragon Bender and Marquise Chris, both taken within the top 10. With Dragon Bender, I think he caught a little bit of the Porzingis fever, but he doesn't have the three-point shooting or mobility that Porzingis has, and Marquise Chris is just kind of fat and lazy and has seriously regressed his second year in the league. What I think they need to look out for per se is nothing. I just think Ryan McDonough needs to do a better job at drafting a top 10. One move I think they should make is no move. Stay away from free agency. You are building an extremely good young core. No need to mess up the salary cap going forward when you need to re-sign these players. If you have enjoyed the video so far, maybe consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you really like it, subscribe for more NBA content. And now back to the video. Next team on this list, the long-suffering Sacramento Kings. And it's actually looking up in Sacktown, and I'll give you multiple reasons why. When you look at young talent, often you're just looking at 1 or 2 players on a team. But the Kings actually have a plethora of players that I feel like have star potential, maybe a little bit lower, but are still good prospects in the long run. We can talk about someone like Buddy Hield, who's already one of the top 3-point shooters in the league and probably doesn't have that high of a ceiling, but is still going to be a good shooter over the course of his career and can give you offense at times. We can talk about Bojan Bogdanovic, who really has bust on the scenes and I think opened a lot of people's eyes in the rookie-sophomore game when he was nailing threes from deep. That kid is a serious shooter and can create offense for himself. Also a very good passer. 3.3 assists per game at only 20 minutes per game. So that's pretty incredible. You also have some later draft picks like Justin Jackson or Frank Mason III that aren't going to be star players, but are really good value picks for where they were selected and are contributing to the Kings already. Obviously, the segment wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about De'Aaron Fox, and I really like De'Aaron Fox. I think he's a great defender already, and as he gets bigger and stronger and learns the game a little bit more, he's going to be able to use that speed and athleticism to better translate into playmaking and scoring for himself, because right now he plays the game like 100 miles an hour, And once the game slows down for him, he'll be able to speed up on everyone else. Now, the wild card in all this, Harry Giles. Probably a lot of you guys don't even know who Harry Giles is, but a couple years ago, he was the #1 high school player in the country, went to Duke, barely played at Duke, and is sitting out this entire season. He has star potential. There's nothing else I can say about it. He got selected like 30th or something, but when you're the #1 player in the country, there's a reason for that. And he could bust out, and he could be great, or he could be nothing, so we'll have to find out. I think what the Kings need to be worried about is pretty obvious for anyone that pays close attention to the NBA, and that's their owner, Vivek. I think with a lot of new money owners coming in, tech money guys, they think they're smarter than what they actually are when it comes to basketball. I just Googled his name, and there's some profile, his profile picture somewhere is his face next to basketball plays, X's and O's stuff. Like, you don't know that, dude, so don't try to get that involved with the game and have your fingerprints on every single part of the game. Let the front office do their job, and obviously you can be involved, you're the owner of the team, but don't try to muddy the water too much with your opinion. One move I think the Kings should make, drop Willie Cauley-Stein. For someone that was drafted so high, and they're in their third year of their career, and they still can't pass, can't dribble, can't shoot, and aren't a good rebounder. I don't understand what the reason for him playing more minutes this year is. He's up 10 minutes per game, and his stats have gotten better proportionally, but his efficiency has bottomed out. So is he getting better? I don't really think so. And when it comes contract time, just because he's not a complete bust and because of where he was selected in the draft, he's going to ask for way too much money. So the next team on this list is going to be the Dallas Mavericks. And the reason I put Dallas on here is not necessarily because of the players they have or any of the moves they've made previously. It's just because of the long-term stability the Mavericks have had. I believe they can continue this stability. The Spurs get so much credit for being a contender for so long, but the Mavericks have been a contender for almost the same amount of time. Maybe not that upper echelon team the whole time, but think about it. With basically only one superstar player, they've been to the finals twice and have made the playoffs almost every year for the past 20 years. Greg Popovich, longest tenured coach in the NBA, who's right behind him? Rick Carlisle. Mark Cuban, the opposite of Vivek. Very involved with his team, but knows when to step away and actually does know X's and O's at this point in his career. We can also go back to what Mark Cuban has said over and over, is they're not about this whole tanking thing. They're about the quick turnaround. The past couple of years, I think, are just a result of unfortunate timing, with it being the end of Dirk's career and them still trying to kind of run the offense through Dirk, even though he physically cannot keep up with that demand anymore. When you look at signings like Harrison Barnes for almost $100 million, Wesley Matthews coming off the torn Achilles and still getting a pretty sizable contract, they're obviously trying to put talent on the roster quickly. And so I can see a scenario where everyone in the NBA is zigging with the trust the process, Tankapalooza stuff, and they zag and they actually go out and get that middle of the range star player talent off the free market and use that to attract more star pieces that know about the stability there and know Mark Cuban's pedigree and know Rick Carlisle's pedigree. But then I have to talk about what I'm worried about, and that's them going out and spending too much money on a player that's just not quite good enough. When we talk about Harrison Barnes, $100 million, I think that's really pushing up against the borderline there. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player. 20 points a game is extremely hard to do in the NBA, but he just doesn't have the additional skill set to warrant $100 million. And just look at how the team's doing. He's supposed to be their, quote-unquote primary option, but with him as the primary option, they're not winning very many games. If they go out and spend $150 million on, I throw this just purely as an example, this is not going to happen, but Blake Griffin, someone who's not quite going to put your team into a firm playoff running position, that can spell a little bit of trouble for the Mavericks. One move I think the Mavs should make, Next year, hand the keys to the car over to Dennis Smith Jr. I mean, we talked about De'Aaron Fox before. Dennis Smith is everything you wanted from De'Aaron Fox coming out of school, except more. Obviously, he's not the defender that De'Aaron Fox is with those long-rangey arms, and De'Aaron just seems to care a little bit more. I mean, he puts more effort in on the defensive end. But when you're talking about offensive end, explosion, versatility, passing, finishing around the rim, he's as good as they get for a rookie at 6'3" point guard. And so next year, when they're not going to be that good, and they're probably not going to have Dirk, and then, Harrison Barnes or whatever. I don't give a shit about Harrison Barnes. But just let the kid run free. See what he can do. See how many strides forward he can make. Because the earlier you build this kid up, the better it's going to be in the long run. So that's all I got for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you disagreed with anything I said, make sure to leave it in the comments section below. So until next time, as always, thanks for watching.